Yo, what is good? What is bragging with you? It is I, the DJC, aka the Don Juan Carlos, and we're here for some more Valorant content coming for your face right now. So today we're gonna do something a bit different. That's kind of the same. You might have seen this, you might not have. We are actually going to be doing a Valorant agent tier list. Now, this video itself is gonna look a bit weird. It's gonna be chopped up in different parts because there's different things that I want to personally experiment, so I can give you the full data and analysis of just how all the characters operate. So we're gonna start with our first two operators, Breach and Brimstone, in this segment, and then in later segments we'll continue on and we'll go through all the operators. So here's one of the first things I want to say about this tier list. Now, as you can see, we have we have six different columns on this tier list. We have S tier, we have A tier, we have A plus tier, A tier, B plus tier, B tier, and of course C tier. For the most part, you don't have to worry about that C tier. It's not going to be useful here. But I'll go over what each of these tiers mean in this specific video, in this specific tier list. And then every month, every time a new update or big patch comes out, we're going to be going through an update in the tier list so that, you know, you can stay ahead of the curve on which agents, I keep wanting to call them operators, that you should be playing. So first things first, S tier. Now, S tier is defined as a top tier character. Basically, if you pick this character on your team comp, you have a high probability that you will win this game. So as of right now, there's only one S tier, and you could probably imagine which one it is. But we'll get to that sooner or later. So we got A plus tier. Now, A plus tier is basically will be agents or operators that are a little bit above the focal point of balance. That doesn't mean that they're OP. They're just a little bit overtuned, and they can be toned down some, but as they are right now, they do not inherently break the game. And of course, we have the A tier that's available right now, which is the focal point of balance. A tier is usually going to be where you want to balance most of your agents, operators, like where you want to balance it by. We have quite a few A tiers as of right now, and we'll get right into that as soon as we finish this. Of course, we have B plus tier. B plus tier is mostly operators that can work on their own. However, they excel when in counter matchups. And then of course we have B tier, which are most operators that cannot perform at the level that other operators can, or they're at a disadvantage. Your team is at a disadvantage if you pick them. So we're gonna jump right into this. And one of the other things that we'll rate this by, how every agent is going to be operated by, is actually by something that I created called FAIL. FAIL. So the first thing we want to consider is the functionality. How well can this operator function on its own? Then we want to look at the accessibility of this operator. How easy or hard is this operator to play? And 3, the I, impact. How can the operator impact each round? And of course, 4th, which is probably the least important part, is lethality. The ability for this operator to defeat or kill enemies, whichever way you want to put it. So we're going to be starting with Breach, right? Breach is a homie. If you don't know, Breach is a initiator agent. Now, what initiator does, if you're under a rock or you're very new to the game of Valorant, initiators basically set up for your team. They have abilities, they have moves that set up your team so that they can go in and defeat anybody who's disrupted by their attacks. So for Breach, he has 4 abilities. We're going to include his ultimate in that ability. His first ability is the cannon that he has on his arm. I don't exactly remember what it's called, but it's a slow charge up time, and anybody that's caught in the circle takes a lethal amount of damage. It can either kill or drop them very low. His second ability is 2 flashes that he has that go through walls, and a flash is probably the longest flash in the game currently. His third ability is his E, which is a long range stun where you charge it up, it goes through walls, goes directly in the direction that you're facing, and it stuns anybody in that area. And his 4th ability, if you do not know, is his ultimate, where he summons a seismic wave that knocks you up and disorients you like the stun, and it also reduces your fire rate. So we want to look at Breach. Now, when we talk about Breach, when we look at its functionality, how well can this operator do on its own, right? Breach inherently cannot do very much on its own. Yes, his one ability, we'll just call it the one for now. Yes, his one can kill, but you're not really using the one to kill people. When you're playing Breach, you want to keep in mind that yes, that is his most damaging move. That's the move that does damage and can potentially kill other operators. But you want to use that move to cut off flanks or make sure that if anybody crosses through this section, You're either clearing them out, make sure nobody comes through, or you're inherently forcing. You really are just forcing them to move out of that area. One example where Breach shines is on Split in the elevators. If you're coming from A side, Breach can actually set up his one and set up the cannon, and then anybody that's crossing through the underbelly of the elevator or taking the ladder has a high chance to take either 80 plus damage or just straight up die, depending on which ladder or rope that they took to climb up Split. But that isn't always going to work in all situations. Again, his three, his three. Well, technically it would be his three or his E, which is a long range stun. You can stun people from across the map. However, with Breach, you're not going to be able to get to those areas. So if you stun somebody, again, we're going to use Split as an example. If you stun somebody in elevators and Split down mid, you won't be able to actually follow up on that yourself. However, if you have a Jet or another duelist that can get into positions like that, they can capitalize on your setup. Same with flashes. The flashes are a lot more easier to use because the flashes last such a long time. You can flash them, actually flank them, get a kill, and same with the ultimate, which is you knock them up, and if you're close enough, you'll be able to get another kill with that. So, that's his functionality. Now, accessibility, Breach is one of the easiest characters to play, and it's a lot of times it is very simple to learn where his flashes go, where his one goes, the cannon, or where his three goes. It's all visible on the map. And if you ever want to learn about new spots, you can always go into a custom game. You can check and see which areas the flashes go. The flash will always go to the other side of the wall, in whichever one you're facing. And it's very easy to tell on the map. You'll see which areas get flashed. And the flash itself is really strong. The range for it is wide. If you're getting flashed, if Breach uses his flash on you and you're in the general area, you will be flashed no matter which direction you're looking. So again, very easy to pick up, not a difficult character to use. He's simple. He's very simple. Now we want to talk about impact on the game. Breach, when Breach gets going, he probably has one of the best impacts. Honestly, getting a stun out, making sure your fire rate is decreased, or flashing somebody, making sure that if you peek this corner and you get flashed, you're guaranteed dead. You will feel the wrath of what Breach is. Now, and in terms of lethality, again, the cannon, the one is the only move that does damage. Put all that together, Breach, while he is an initiator, is only going to be at B plus tier. I know, sad moment. Because here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about that. Breach, like I was saying before, in functionality, Breach cannot function on its own. He only has one damage ability, and the rest of his moves are to set up his team. And if he is not close enough, a lot of that setup gets thrown to the wayside, especially on attack. You set up for something, you use your stun, you use your flash, you set up so that you can actually get the kill. But if you're not personally close enough, a lot of that stuff wears off and you'll be out of position because you're rushing to them. And then enemies can easily just peek out, kill you, or you're not looking in one direction because you know somebody got stunned. You got stunned somewhere else, and then you get shot from the other angle. Versus just having someone like Jet, who's a great follow up, actually works really well with Breach. Dash, jumps up, dashes in, blasts you, done, deleted, and you pretty much have done your job, and that's an easy pick. So, like I said, we're gonna put Breach in the B plus tier, but that's okay. So now we want to move on to Brimstone, my man. That's the homie. Now, Brimstone, if you don't know, he is a controller. Now, what controllers do in the game of Valorant is that they cut off sight lines, they cut off ways for you to, well, it's, again, that's sight lines. They basically make it harder for the defense or attack to actually follow up on your pushes, follow up on anything, because they clearly don't have vision. Now, if you talk about functionality about Brimstone, Brimstone is probably one of the easiest characters. I know this is accessibility, but he is one of the easiest characters to learn in this game. If you want to learn smoke placements, pick up pick up Brimstone, and you will actually like start to learn like where are good places to actually smoke things off. Now, let's talk about this operator, right? So he has three smokes. He starts off with one at the start of the game, and he gains one smoke if you do at the end of every round. So if you don't use one in the previous round, you will get another smoke, stacking up to two, and then it caps out at three smokes that can be regenerated in total if you don't buy them. He also has his Molly, which denies area. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it does force enemies if they're pushing through chokeholds either to stop or they push through it and they take damage. Walking through a Molly, you take about 20-30 damage, and that's you entering a fight at maybe 120 armor versus having a full 150 armor, and it really does make a difference. Then one of his other abilities, which is his one, is a stim beacon. Now, what stim beacon does, if you step in the range of the stim beacon, it gives you rapid fire, and that also applies to enemies as well as allies. And Breach can walk out of the stim beacon and then still have the boost on him until the entire cooldown goes down, which takes about 7 to 8 seconds before that cooldown actually goes down. And then we have his ultimate, Open Up the Skies, which is a giant AoE damage circle that comes down in dots. It doesn't come down immediately, like it doesn't drop down and you immediately die. It dots you, and if you're in it for long enough, it kills you. And if not, you'll take a very hefty amount of damage. So let's talk about playstyle, like the accessibility to play this op. Again, like I said, this op is very easy to learn, very easy to like master. Well, actually, let me not say it's very easy to master. There are a plethora of different things that you can do on Brimstone that are different every time. This goes back to his functionality, which I didn't mention, where it's like when you play Brimstone, one of the ideas that you want to have when playing this character is you want to herd the enemy, or you want to condition the enemy into thinking like they know exactly what you're going to do. So, for example, if we're talking about Haven, if you condition your enemy by using the smokes to cover your pushes and pushing one site repeatedly, at a certain point, they're going to adjust so that they are ready for that site. And you know what you do? As soon as you lose that round when they're ready for your site, re-smoke it and you push another site. You condition your enemies so that they do not know what the smokes are for. So they always have to be on their toes, always has to be ready, because any site could get pushed, and Breach using his smokes won't be a way to actually tell where they're coming from. Again, with his Molly, like you're not actually going to use the Molly in order to do damage. Very often, it's possible to actually get kills with it if let's say somebody's trapped and you drop a Molly right by their feet, or you angle the Molly so that it like cuts them off and they have to take the full brunt of the damage or get shot by you. Or you can force them off certain areas. So if somebody's chilling in mid bind, you're pushing A. It's the first corner when you're pushing the right side of mid. And as soon as you go up the stairs, it's the first corner that a lot of people play with. If you know someone's there, you can drop a Molly. You can, because it stops after one or two bounces, you could put it right on them to get them to move or take the full damage and they die. Or you can have it so that it actually cuts off all of their movement. And if they do decide to move, you will either shoot them and they'll take the Molly damage, or they're stuck there. And by the time you're ready to push up to mid again, that person is guaranteed dead because they are stuck there. That's like part of how you want to play Brimstone. You don't want to actually go for kills. You just want to delay them or trap them, or like I said earlier, herd them into positions that they can very much easily get shot. It's Stim Beacon, even that. Stim Beacon isn't really, like, you could throw it down and you'll get the boost and you could be like, haha, I am Brimstone, I now have rapid fire. Feel me and feel my wrath. That's cool, but a lot of times you just, you don't want to sit in it. You just throw the Stim Beacon down on your team. If they're going to go for a push, just throw it down on them. Your team gets boosted, they have a higher chance of winning gunfights, and you can also get boosted if you step right into it, and then that makes the site push a lot easier. Same with well, I won't say same with. I'll retract that. Actually, and then his last ability, his ultimate, Open Up the Skies, is completely not supposed to be used for damage. Now, if you watch me stream or you watch me play Valorant, sometimes I use the Brimstone ult in order to do damage to confirm a kill or guarantee one, but a lot of times that's not going to. I won't use it like that. If I know somebody's there and they can't get out of it, Open Up the Skies, done. If I know that I can cut somebody's rotation off, Open Up the Skies, done. Open Up the Skies is there for denial only. Specifically, it's most prominent in Haven. That's probably one of Brimstone's best maps. Literally, you push A side on Haven, you open up the skies. Anybody that is in heaven or hell is almost guaranteed to dead, or they will literally be one bullet away. It is almost guaranteed. You put that ult right on them, they're done though. There's nothing really they can do because of how big the area is, and it covers. It actually covers all of that site. It covers halfway I believe halfway through the stairs, and it covers all of hell. So anybody that's sitting in any of those two positions are basically dead. And that's again, you want to use Brimstone's ult in order to cut off where people are gonna go. If you got the spike down, goes to the second phase and starts beeping faster. It goes like beep 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 beep, and you can guarantee that it'll get to the half of the second phase where it starts beeping faster, so you can defuse. Open up the skies on the diffuser. Like there's nothing that the enemy can actually do to counter it, and the range for it is insane. You can almost cast it halfway across the map, and you can still get useful utility from it. So, well, all that being said, Brimstone will sit right here on the top of, right here at the start of the A tier. So again, Brimstone is the focal point of balance where the game should be balanced around, and that's really we're gonna cut here, right? I'll come back in part two, and we'll talk about Cipher and Jet as I start to learn them, start to get familiar with them. You will start to see where they go on the tier list. So I'm gonna catch you guys real quick. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. Right. So next on the tier list, we got my man Bodega Cipher coming through. So if we look at fail or functionality, accessibility, impact, and lethality, let's look at what Cipher does. Cipher has the ability to set up tripwires. He has 2 of them in his kit. That anybody who hits them, their position is revealed, and if they do not shoot the tripwire in time, they get dazed, reducing their attack speed and blacking out or black and whiting their screen. And he also has the Cipher cages, which blocks off lines of sight. It used to slow people as they walk through the cage. It no longer does that anymore, but it's still a good tool to get in. You throw the cage down, you walk through it. You don't have to walk through the cage, but you can walk through parts of the cage and set yourself up. Set yourself up to be a sneaky boy, so that you could just 360 around, make sure that people can't chase you or they lose sight of you, so you can continue to just like sneak around. And he also has his camera. Now his camera did get nerfed pretty during the beta, so his camera lasts for 45 seconds. So he gets 2 of them during the round as long as he's still alive. But the camera is still a good tool to use, right? You throw the camera up somewhere in a position that's pretty high up so that you can get full sight on either full sight of the site or full sight of a certain area, and then you use that information that you get from the camera to just communicate to your team where they could be pushing from. It's like, I wouldn't say it's different from playing Silva. I know we haven't reached Silva yet, but it's different, right? The Silva arrow can go further distances, and if the camera gets shot, like you're down on intel for a while, but of course you still have the tripwires, so if they push from that direction, you still got information on you. So it's 2 different aspects of gathering intel, and Cipher is always a good operator to have on your team. There is never a situation where you don't want a Cipher, because tripwires hold you back. You got flank watch on the tripwires. The tripwires do not disappear when Cipher dies. Excuse me. Tripwires don't disappear when Cipher dies. And as long as the round goes on, like the longer the round continues, the Cipher tripwires become that much more valuable. You think about, let's say there's 15 seconds left, and you gotta fully rotate to another site, and you're the last one alive. You're like, oh god, I gotta go do something. So you start running, and you're trying to take it off and be sneaky, and then you hit a Cipher tripwire. And what do? You panic, you spray everywhere, you miss every bullet, get hit with the Cipher tripwire, and then 3 seconds later you get blasted to the next dimension. So Cipher is omnipresent on the map. There's never a bad time this operator isn't bad. There's never a bad time. There's never a situation where you'd be like, dang, I wish I didn't pick Cipher in this situation. Even on attack, the tripwires to hold your flank from defense, a flank against a defense, is still great. Mind you, Haven is a specific map where if you push the A side, the first doorway, you put your Cipher tripwire right there, and as soon as you push on through long and short, anybody that's coming to flank from behind you from maybe B mid, they get revealed on tripwire. So you put one person on flank watch, and they're watching that fight while the rest of your team is available to go push site. Or if you play aggro Cipher, which I wouldn't recommend, but you can. In Haven again, if you're pushing A short, you can throw the Cipher cage on the box in the center of the A site to block off sight from heaven from short, and then you can get an easy plan off. There's a plethora of different things that you can do with Cipher, making him above the focal point of balance. He's a bit above being balanced because of how much impact he has. And then of course I didn't even mention his ultimate. His ultimate, when any corpse, doesn't have to be a body that he kills, any corpse he reveals everybody position on the map. It's not a live feed, it just reveals their last known location. Meaning that you can, in a 1v1, you could get a general area where someone is, or just lock them down and make sure you guarantee a round. And it's just good for information. You see everybody on the map and be like, okay, where can I push here? Or what can I do here? It's very useful in its kit, and there's really just, Cipher is really powerful right now. Even though he has no abilities that kill. Actually, that's not true. Technically, the tripwire can kill if your opponent has 5 HP or less. That's the only ability that can kill if they get hit with the full thing for it. But, technically, Cipher has no lethality. His impact is extremely high. His accessibility, he's super easy to learn to play because the tripwires are simple, the cage is simple, the camera's simple. The only thing that's difficult is getting close to a body once you shoot somebody to throw your ultimate on them. But other than that, it's very simple. But as you learn the character and as you learn the maps, you'll find better spots to put the Cipher tripwires, better spots to throw the cages down to cut off lines of sight, and better spots to put the camera so that you can get information while limiting the chance that the camera actually gets shot. So Cipher, going up to that A+ rank. Boop. So next person we're going to be talking about is Jett. Now Jett is fairly simple. Jett is going to be our first duelist that we're talking about. So if you don't know about Jett, she has her 4 abilities. She has a smoke, which got buffed from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. She had to put her more in line with the other smoke operators. She has a dash, which the dash actually also got buffed. It breaks Cipher tripwire, so you can't just dash through and get yeeted backwards. And she has a jump, a vertical jump forward into the air. She has 2 of them. She could dash twice into the air to get on top of boxes and things like that. And then the dash regenerates every time you get 2 kills. And of course, her ultimate, she summons a bunch of knives, and then you can either shoot them all at once and get a kill to regenerate a few more knives, or you shoot the knives individually to also get a kill. So we talk about Jett. Jett in general is a pretty, well, let's talk about her functionality before we talk about accessibility. Jett is fairly simple, right? You throw the smoke down to block off lines of sight, so you could either dash and push in, or on defense, you use your jump to get on top of boxes and stuff that your opponent won't expect you to be on, because a lot of times they'll be looking right in front of you and not expect someone to be above you, which means Jett has an advantage there. So, and then you use the dash to either close the gap on somebody, or you use the dash to get away from somebody. The only thing about the dash is if you get caught while dashing, there's still like a downtime before the dash animation finishes and the time you pick up your gun, take out your gun. Because you got to remember, every time you take out your gun, you have to do the animation to get it ready. So that's the only thing about uh, Jet. And of course, you have her ultimate. You know, you can just fly up into the air and then use the knives, and then go like, whoo, 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 somebody's dead. Or you can just knife somebody right in the brain, and they're basically dead. Or you could just shotgun the knives, and someone's basically dead. Jet is the accessibility to Jet. She is fairly easy to play, right? You pick up Jet, you learn how to throw the smokes because the longer you hold it, the further the smokes go. You can throw the smokes right in front of you. You can throw the smokes on a box, and of course the smokes got buffed, so you now have the ability to actually use the smokes as cover for yourself to get off, to more reliably get off plans. Let me say that because before the buff to the smoke, the reliability on the smoke to get plants off was not that high. You throw the smoke down, it's 4 seconds to get the plant off. The smoke only lasts 4 seconds because you gotta smoke, get in position, then start the plant, and by that time the smoke will wear off and you have a higher chance to just die. But again, this operator is easy to play. Not really taking it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to play this character, but you can have a lot of impact on the round. Literally, being able to jump onto boxes and being able to position yourself in areas that your opponent won't expect, and as long as someone's watching your back, or if the enemy doesn't have intel on you, you can really take advantage of having the height advantage over somebody. They My homie plays Jet with a shotgun. Literally, he'll get on top of boxes, get on top right where people would push, on top of something, just spray down with the judge. Like, what are they? There's really nothing they can do because they're just sitting there like, oh, well, I didn't know she was up there. And of course, all once you get the first kill, you just rotate and go somewhere else. So now the rest of your opponents are looking up, trying to make sure that you're not on top of the box, and then you flank them from a different angle and just shotgun them again. It's very easy to use this character, but there is a lot of big brain moments that you can have with her. And of course, the only lethality on her kit is her ultimate, but her ultimate is really powerful. It's not the best. It's inconsistent sometimes. So you throw it up. It's like a toss up sometimes. Sometimes you get a headshot and you'll try and pre-fire the knives and it won't hit. So it's a bit shaky. It's a bit shaky. But overall, character's nice. She's not underpowered. She's perfect where she is right now. Jet is taking the cake at an A rank. So we're gonna be talking about Omen and Phoenix decks. So we will be right back with that. Alright, so we will continue this on right now. So next on the list of agents that we have, we're going to talk about Omen, our boy, the mystery man, he who can't be named. And I'm just going to jump right into it, right? So if we look at fail, functionality, accessibility, impact, and lethality, Omen he's very weird. Let's just say that. So Omen, first of all, Omen in terms of functionality, he's probably one of the hardest characters to play because he is so mechanically. He's the most mechanical character that there is right now. Like they just changed him as well, where you can control where the smoke goes is further. You can see through walls, and you kind of. They made it so that it's a lot easier to understand how to play him and understand like where the smokes are gonna go, but Omen is still really not that useful. There's certain playstyles for Omen, like where he'll smoke right in front of himself and then like TP to a different section, or he'll just like smoke, throw the paranoia out, then push. But a lot of those types of playstyles are not really that useful solely because Omen in general is just a solo character. He's a character that you try and solo carry on, and in a team-based game, trying to solo carry is not. It's possible. So don't get me wrong, it is possible, but it's not what the game is based around, and that's really where Omen. The problem with Omen really, because look at this, right? Functions. He has no lethality in his kit. He has to smoke. He has to smoke off different areas. The smokes also have gravity to them, which no other smokes do. So you can smoke like heaven or something. If it doesn't get caught on nothing, it'll drop straight into the ground. Or depending on where you're looking, the smoke will go into the ground, not covering anything. If you TP and someone sees you TP, all you do is just like you can just see him as he TPs, and as soon as he comes out of it, just like Jet, you could just shoot him right in the face, and there's nothing he can do about it. Like when you talk about like his ultimate, even his ultimate, is like ultimate when Omen ults and he can teleport anywhere to the map or not. That's the only time you ever think about Omen. You'll start playing and be like, wow. Actually, let me run that back a little bit. Have you ever just sat in a lobby and was just like, oh, there's an Omen on the enemy team. Should I be careful? No, you haven't. Omen is kind of just there. There's not really the only time you ever think about Omen is when he ults, and that's it. That's the only time because he could get anywhere on the map. Like, yeah, maybe one or two times to get caught off guard by Omen if he's on top of a box or something. But for me personally, there has never been a time where I was like, oh man, we gotta watch out for this Omen. It's he doesn't really do anything. Like accessibility, he's the hardest character to play because he's so mechanically intensive, and he's meant for solo carrying. And like I said before, it's a team-based game. You can't just solo carry. You can't just like run around on your own and just try and top frag. It's possible, again, like very possible, but if you're on the other side of the map trying to top frag where your team is pushing a site and they all die, what are you gonna do? You're just Omen like, yes, I'm on A site, but the rest of the team died at B site. There's not really much you can do there. Like low impact. Again, his ultimate is the only thing that is impactful, and he has to get 6 or 7 kills to actually get his ultimate to TP or not. And lethality, he has no lethality in his kit. Even his blind, his paranoia. It's like you shoot the paranoia out, and you're just like, yeah, I hope I hit somebody. That's really it. It tells you it got fired, but I've been hit with plenty of paranoias, and I've never said to myself, all right. So, like I was saying before, sorry I had to cut that out. Like I've been hit with paranoia, and I've never said, dang, this is like really impressive, and I feel impacted by this. I get hit by it, I just walk behind the wall, wait till it goes over, and then re-peek it, because he only has one. And of course, it can shoot across the map, but it literally doesn't bother you. You're just like, oh, well, I'm blind. Unlike Reyna, who's probably going to be close to her eye that covers sightline or gives you blindness, she'll be close enough to follow up on that if you shoot at the orb or anything. Omen can't really do that, especially if he's shooting it across the map. Of course, they made it so that it's a lot more, you can be a lot more aggressive with it, but are you going to do that on Omen? What are you going to do, blind and then TP? What if the blind wears out as you're TPing and someone turns to you and blasts you right in the face? It's not really much you can do. So Omen, with that being said, Omen is going into B. Again, it's a team-based game, and Omen plays solo. It's not really, can't really do much with Omen here. We're going to keep going. Let's talk about my boy Phoenix. That boy is, Phoenix is actually really strong right now. So, Phoenix actually just got buffed in version 1.0. They made his grenade a lot more lethal. They also reduced the healing on his grenade, as you should. I think the heal for the wall is still unchanged, so it takes about 8 seconds to get fully healed. In the nade, it only heal you up to 50, and then you can use the wall to re-heal you as well. His flashbang also got buffed, and it went from 0.8 to 1.1 seconds, and then his ultimate, which is run it back, automatically reloads your guns as soon as it wears out, which is, oof, that is such a strong buff. So, Phoenix is super strong as a duelist. He's a duelist who can also initiate for himself and for his team. With the flashbang being as strong as it is, and you can curve it around corners, you be like, snap, flashbang, push. Or get someone else to flashbang, and then as soon as breach flashbang is, you come back through, and then you can re-flash them. There's no DI for flashbang. You can just, anybody who's caught can be constantly banged, or flashbanged, I should say. And his grenade is also like super strong. It shreds through enemies. I actually have notes here. So Phoenix's grenade can actually shred through enemies with no armor in 3.3 seconds. He can shred through enemies with light armor 4.125, and of course with heavy is 4.95. So it's basically 3, 4, and 5 with all different classes of armor respectively. It is super strong, and then his ultimate, of course, run it back. Straight up lets you just absorb bullets, and you can do damage while you're in the ultimate. It's not just like a scouting tool. Like I forget Ayana in Siege right now. She also has a similar ability to Phoenix's ultimate, where she can summon out a drone, goes in, you can sort of scout things out, and then if someone can shoot it. Phoenix can just straight up say, "I'm ulting this, bam, walking. I walked into the site, and then I can do as much damage as I can." And then you come back and you have your guns reloaded. So you can reinitiate, use your flash, but you can use your flashbangs if you didn't use it while you were ulting. You can just throw your grenade because you know where some people are going to be. Of course, they're most likely they're going to move. Uh, if you die, if they kill the clone, I'm sorry about that. They're most likely going to move, but you have more opportunities to be like, all right, so this section is cleared. I doubt they're going to be there. Flashbang. Work with the team. They scout out for you. You owe flashbang. Like Phoenix is in such a great spot right now that it's super easy to play. The only hard thing about playing this operator is the flashbang. Like learning the angle in which it curves. It'll be hard at first, but like as you start to experiment, especially if you run it in custom games, you can start to practice around corners, like because you can flash either left or right and curve it around, and then you won't flash your teammates. Of course, please call it out when you're running Phoenix that you're gonna flash, because if someone pushes with you, they'll also get flashed, and they can't frag the enemy team that got flashed recently. And of course, Phoenix always has impact on his round. Like you push on site, you use the wall, which you can curve. You use the wall. You can you could trap somebody in a certain segment of the site so they can't push or they take damage from the wall. You can throw the nade down so that they're either trapped or they take damage. They trap, or they have to move, meaning that you have a higher opportunity to kill them. Flashbang, you stun them on the map, so when you push the site, you can have advantage over them. And of course, run it back as a scouting tool, not only as a tool of frag, but as a scouting tool, you can see what the site looks like, and then when you re-engage on the site, you have a better opportunity to actually frag them. If you don't just straight up kill them while you're in your ult. So Phoenix is super strong, really good place right now. He's not OP or anything. He's just extremely strong. So he is going into the A+ tier. Haha. So this next character, we got Raze here, is going to be very controversial. Just want to let you know, it'll be very controversial. First hot take that I have to say about this character, and probably the only one, is Raze is not inherently OP. Now, when I say Raze isn't inherently OP, I honestly don't think she is strong. Don't get me wrong, but here's the difference between Raze being strong and Cipher being strong. Hold on, run it back again. Cipher actually takes a lot more skill, and Cipher cannot say you're dead. That's the only thing he will say. Cipher can say if you walk, you'll get delayed if you walk through this position, and I can have someone playing next to it that will frag you, meaning he works well with the team. Raze is solely just a pub stomp character. Raze punishes you on bad positioning and a lack of map knowledge that you have. Because look at Raze's 4 abilities. She has the bomb pack, which can knock you up. She has the grenade, which if you're caught in it, does a large amount of damage. She has the bomb buddy, which can scout for her, so she can solo push it, or either kill you with the bomb buddy or solo push herself while you're distracted. And she has the ultimate, which is just a giant rocket that she can shoot at you. Like, of course, on paper that sounds like, wow, this character's insane and like should be nerfed. She just needs to be toned down a little bit. She is not inherently OP. As of right now, she'll be an A+ because her damage is super high. She's probably one of the easiest characters to learn and play in this game. And because she's so easy and she punishes people for having bad positioning, if you're new to the game, I suggest you don't play Raze. Pick up a different character like Brimstone, or pick up another character like Silva, who's if you're learning the game, they're much more friendly. novice player friendly. Even Sage is novice player friendly. Just the only thing you have to learn is using the slow fields. But Raze also can have high impact on rounds solely because she can punish you for being in bad spots. I think to change Raze, I would say definitely tone down the damage on her grenades a lot slower, and then tone down the range of the actual splash damage from her rocket. Because if a lot of times if there's a Raze on the enemy field, you can kind of figure out where she's gonna rocket. Per se, if you're playing bind and she plays in hookah, a lot of times if she gets her ultimate, she's just gonna peek out with the rocket and then shoot right into marketplace. What do? Just go to the right, because if you go further enough to the right, you can't get hit with the rocket. Because if you're trapped on the left side and you're not paying attention, you'll just straight up die to the rocket, or you can even walk at her while she's shooting it. Like, Raze can still be killable as she's casting her ultimate. Vandal still one taps her right in the brain. She kicks up a little bit into the air, but she can't take out her guns even right away as soon as she fires the rocket. So there's ways, again, and even when she's peeking different angles. Like if she's peeking just to throw the nade out, just push her while she's throwing it out. How you counter Raze is literally just seeing what she's gonna do and then prepping yourself and the teammate, because it'll be a lot easier with two people just to frag her as soon as she tries anything. Of course, she has high lethality, but that's doing damage isn't the only thing that's important. She has no utility that matters. Like she doesn't have a flashbang like Phoenix. She doesn't have a smoke like Jet. Her only or a blind like Reyna does. All she has is damage, and damage cannot carry you in the game. We're using your utility / working with your teammates is it reigns supreme over everything else. Of course, you'll top frag with her. You'll do everything you can with her. But again, she's a character that will still instill bad habits into you, and when you try and take him to other characters, it won't work out as well. So again, Raze is going an A+ only because her damage is overtuned, and she's a pub stomp character, but that does not make her OP. Now, you want to talk about something that is OP, we have to talk about our resident healer, Sage, here. Now, Sage, let me preface this too. Sage is also a character. Sage is a character that you want to learn at the beginning because you want to know what every character can do, but you want to be careful when you're playing Sage. I forgot to put an asterisk after I said that when I'm talking about Raze. It's like, because Sage will instill bad habits in you as well, right? Let's break it down. So functionality, what does Sage do? Sage has a slow field, she has a wall, she has a heal for herself and teammates, and she has an ultimate that literally reses people who die. There's on the surface level, there's nothing else to it. She's super easy to play, but she has the strongest kit in the entire game, right? Being one of the playstyles that is currently that people currently play right now is aggro Sage, where you literally just run at the enemy. Well, not run at them, but you challenge fights that normal people who don't have heals really shouldn't be challenging, especially on defense. It's really prominent on defense because she'll if Sage gets started and gets an early lead, she gets 2-3 kills. That means she only needs if she dies, she has four ticks towards her ult at the end of the round. She only needs 7 charges for her to get a res on, and resing can turn a 2v2 at any point in the game to a 3v2, and now you're like, okay, now we have to kill an extra person. Of course, they don't have armor, but they're just gonna push site as 3 people when it's a lot easier when there's 2 people. Sage can just on defense run at you, fight you, get low, and then re-heal herself while you still took the damage that the Sage also did to you. Like there's no inherent punishment for playing aggressive Sage on defense. Of course, because they changed the heal so that it lasts, the cooldown for it's 45 seconds, but every round is a minute 40 or about 100 seconds. So you're guaranteed, if you don't die, to get at least 2 heals as long as you use it within the first 10 seconds of the round. And even when the spike's down, the timer stops completely, and then you still have additional time from the spike ticking to heal yourself, get your cooldown back, and then keep fighting. Sage is the best character in the game. Sage, while she might not be SS, saying that if you pick this character, you automatically win the game. Sage does say if this character is on your team, you have the chance of you actually just straight up winning the game is increased. And the only thing about Sage right now is while the top fraggers were always going to pick Sage because of course she can heal herself, but if you have a teammate that is not good at fragging, do not put them on Sage. You want to abuse the fact that aggro Sage is readily available. Put your top fraggers on Sage, let them do what they need to do, and just carry you through the game. Because Sage is extremely strong. Even without her slow fields, even without her wall, being able to heal and res somebody is insanity. Like lethality, she technically she has done, but she could bring people back from the dead. And people learning how to play Sage, please wall people off, or if it's a 2v3 and you want to res somebody to guarantee a round, of course, you really shouldn't be using your ult like that. Have somebody cover the res. There's been so many times where Sages will res somebody and not cover it because they either use their wall too early, trying to be aggressive with it, or whatever. Just use the res how it was meant to be done. Make sure you're covered. Make sure that there's not a way that the enemy can punish you as you're resing, because a lot of Sages will just res and then just try to walk away. But the right play is to res, cover your own res, or have someone else cover it for you, and then keep pushing. So again, Sage is S tier. There's like no argument about that. She is extremely strong. Best character in the game. So here's what we got here. We got two characters left. We have Silva, who's our second initiator in the game. So Silva, right? Silva's pretty simple. He has an arrow that bounces off walls, and then anybody caught in the radius of the arrow, they get detected and revealed to the entire team. He has a shock dart, which does about 60 or so I think he actually does 80 damage to you if you get hit by it, depending on where you get hit in the blast. He also has a scout drone where he could shoot your drone out, and then he can see what's all around him. And then his ultimate, which lets him fire 3 arrows. It lowers his mobility a lot, but he can shoot the arrows, and if you get hit with the arrows, it also reveals you to him and the rest of your team. So and it does damage to your teammates. So you want to be careful. So we want to talk about Silva. Silva is in a great spot right now. He doesn't need any buffs. I think his ultimate is a bit overtuned because if he hits you twice, you're basically dead. Because it reveals you, and it reveals an enemy to the entire team, which is extremely strong. So Silva's functionality, he can work on his own. There's never a time where Silva's gonna be on the map and be like, hey, I really wish we didn't have Silva here. He can frag for himself. He can get intel for himself. Of course, that's not the most important thing, but he can operate on his own. Unlike certain characters, unlike Breach, who needs a team to follow up on his CC, Silva can be like. And Silva doesn't have initially any hard CC. All he has is the drone scout that reveals people's position. He has his arrow that reveals people's in position, and then the shock dart is the shock dart and the ult. You only two things that do damage. And when you get hit with the drone recon scan, it doesn't last too long. Unlike Cipher, when you get hit with the camera, it lasts infinitely until you actually physically take it out. So he's easy to play. He can impact around easy because of his ultimate. Getting an arrow, getting intel on where you are, forces you either to move or shoot the arrow, revealing your position on defense or attack, where you're going to be pushing from. And then he can peek you. A duelist can peek you. He just works everywhere on the team, and he's not super duper OP. Right now, of course, I'd want to see the ultimate get changed a little bit from 80 damage to 70, but that's fine. He's right in this A tier. Silva is a good boy. Anyway, and our last character that we have, of course, we won't be doing Reyna because Reyna literally just came out earlier this week, and it would still be too early to like actually put her on the tier list. So coming maybe like next month, when there's definitely changes or different patch notes, we'll talk about Reyna and where she falls down on the list, of course. So we got Viper. Viper is our third controller in the game, like Omen and like Brimstone. She has a smoke. She also has a area denial ability like Brimstone. She also has a wall similar to Phoenix, and her ultimate covers a large area, and if you walk into it, you get revealed, making it so that she can shoot you right in the face. Now, Viper, Viper is probably like a medium difficulty character, because her abilities are technically infinite, except for her ultimate and her Molly, or her the ability to cover areas that does damage. The wall and the smoke cloud are infinite. They don't kill you. It casts decay on you, which will drop you down on 1 HP. It won't kill you, but it'll drop you down real low as long as you're standing in it. But those abilities are infinite because she has a bar, and you can gauge how much of your toxin you want to use. Toxin wall up. You launch it from across the map because Viper has the ability to just launch her wall across the map and cover large areas. You launch it, you do a push, you come through, you take it down, activate something else, you let your toxin regen, activate a different ability, toss the orb, and you kind of have the ability to just you have the ability to deny areas infinitely if you put the toxic orb in a good place. Not to again, here's the thing about controllers, right? You're not using your abilities to kill somebody, although they can. You're using the abilities to like lock somebody down. Like if they're trapped in a certain place, using Viper's ability, her toxic, to trap somebody in a corner, not the toxic orb or the wall, but her damage ability. Use it to trap somebody in a corner so that they can't move, and then because they can't move, your team has an easier time pushing in. They can't watch an angle because you know that they're there, or versus throwing something down to get them down on 1 HP. But if they just sit in it and wait till your toxin runs out, they'll regen all their health, and then as soon as you come through, you can just like blast them. As soon as they come regen all their health, they can just fight you because you're distracted with something else. Like I'll tell you, I played against Viper in a couple of my games. Played as Breach on Bind, of course. Bind is probably my favorite map right now. I played Breach on defense B side. The first corner from Labs is a strong site because you can hold down anybody coming from B long. That's a really strong angle, and then you can peek a little bit at anybody at hookah. Viper tossed her smoke at me, and what did I do? Of course I had teammates there. I just sat in the smoke until it ran out, and then I regen all my health and then fought Viper, and there was nothing she could do because she used all her utility trying to get me out of the corner. I'm just like, hey, if you had used a different move, you probably had a better chance, but she chose the smoke. So you have to be really careful where you toss down her abilities. You got to be careful on like how you use it because you want to min max how much toxin you're using. You don't want to use all of your toxin on your wall because then you won't have enough toxin to activate your smoke bomb. You won't. Her ultimate and her damage ability isn't affected by the toxin, but you definitely want to min max how much you're using the wall and the smoke cloud. And of course, I didn't really talk about her ultimate, but she has one of the best ultimates for sight denial. Like as a Viper, if you get initiated into the site and then you sit somewhere and then you cast your ultimate, like your ultimate covers so much of the site that nobody's really gonna push, and you have the opportunity to reveal yourselves. And if your teammates are playing around it, like outside of the ultimate, they can either hold people off from getting into it, allowing you to delay the spike denial even longer, or if you could completely deny somebody from rushing onto a site because if they walk into it, they get revealed and they get decayed as well. So Viper really just like locks down an area. She is strong. She is not OP, and Viper is amazing. She's a really good character. Super balanced. There's not really much you can say about Viper, so she's definitely going in the A tier. So that's about it. With the operators, again, if you have anything that you disagree, you can just leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. I honestly think this represents where the game is right now. Sage, of course, best character in the game. Cipher is omnipresent. Phoenix, one of the best duelists. Super strong. Flashbang has a bunch of utility. Again, Raze is overtuned. If she gets nerfed a little bit, she'll be coming down as the A tier. Brimstone, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Jet again, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Silva, the ultimate could come down, but other than that, he's not broken. He's easy to fight against. You don't have to worry about anything. Uh, Viper, of course, great site presence. Oh, there's always an impact with her. Like you cannot deny Raze. I'd say Raze. You can't deny Viper from doing anything. Like when Viper sets up, she sets up, and she's staying there for a while. Breach, of course, lots of utility, super awesome, high lethality too. It's great. Only thing that he needs is to work with the team, of course, and you're pretty much good with that. And then, of course, we have Omin, who's one of the only operators that tries to function on its own. And in the team-based game, doesn't really, it's not really that impactful. When you fight Omen again, you end up, it ends up being a person fragging on the character rather than the character's utility actually making an impact on the round. So, hey, that's all I'm gonna say. Again, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back for more tier lists, more content. You already know what time it is. You know the deal. It's your boy DJ, and I'm out.